Welcome to my YouTube channel, Fund Me Rolf. Subscribe now.
Unitary form, ternary form, of all of those forms, the most complicated is Sonata Allegro. And then I distinguish that the reason for it being given that name, Sonata Allegro, is first of all, the sonata itself is a genre of music, you know. And then the reason why this form is called Sonata Allegro is because it is this form that you find in virtually all of those genres, in the first movement of all of those genres, in concerto, in symphonies, string quartet, you know, what have you. You find most of them having their first movement as Sonata Allegro. And then Allegro because they are usually played fast. That's why they are called Allegro. Otherwise, you just stand as sonata form. It's fine. If you say Sonata Allegro form, it's still the same thing. Or if you say first movement form, it's still the same thing. But then the reason why Sonata Allegro was adopted because it's part of the invention of the classical period. You know, because now we are moving from the idea of just knowing that it is exposition, development, and I don't know why I don't always remember that thing. I don't always remember that you know, the sonata is divided into exposition. I always forget it. But then there's a need for us to move away from just knowing that it's exposition, development, and then recapitulation. And then let's get to know what's really happening. You know, what is in exposition, what do we have in development, and then what's happening in recapitulation. Now the diagram is just a guide. Transition from the melody and tell that it's doing something, and then you land us into the dominant key. You know about instruments here to determine that you get that new thing. You can hear the violins establishing closing thing. People from the melody can tell it's going on, it's closing. start the dances, those different dances. And so all of those suites, all of those dances of the Baroque period are now compressed to what we have as all of this. So this intro can be seen as different, although it's optional. Maybe next class, by God's grace. Next class, I'll take us through the symphony, and then we'll play. We can take a particular composer and play all of the symphonies, and then see how the symphonies evolve, how it developed over time. You know, and you can decide to use any of the composers, and then we'll bring the symphony to class, all of the symphonies, and then we'll play, and then we'll try to analyze to see the development of the symphony. All right, the reason why I put that as optional, intro, as optional, no doubt, Haydn standardized symphony. And then for all of the symphony, they always have intro, very long intros. And then after the intro, we now go into the exposition. Now, in the exposition, we are supposed to have two themes. The first theme, usually rather fast, and then the second theme will be more lyrical. You know. But the reason why you have one here is this one signifies key. So if the first theme is in a major key, here, like this, the second theme usually will be in the dominant. Alright? And then if the major is in a minor key, the second theme will be in the relative major. And that's why I have this big three here. You know, in a minor key, the relative major is usually the third degree. I hope you understand. Yes. So that's why I have three here. And then you usually have a bridge. A bridge that that joins the first thing to the second thing. Then after that, we have another closing thing. And then usually at the end of the exposition, anybody knows what this means? Repeat sign. Yes. So at the end of the exposition, you have it repeated. So after that, then you go to the development. Like I said last week, the development is just a showcase of the themes. This is where you can liken the development to improvisation, where the themes are being developed. Those two things in the exposition are being developed. Although some composers can decide to use any one of the two. Some composers use the two. And then we now move to the recapitulation. In every sonata form or sonata allegro form, there are two themes for the exposition. The first theme, usually in a particular key, and then you have a transition or bridge, and then which leads into the second theme, which is in another key, and then usually closing with a closing theme or ending with a closing theme, and then it's being repeated and all of that. So that's the exposition. So let's move into the development. Now the idea of the development, like I said, is development of the melodies or the themes from the first movement, from the exposition. The exposition is telling us, like, it has established a theme for us, which our ears are now familiar with. And then the reason why these expositions have to be repeated. Have you ever thought about it? Oh, you don't listen to me. Alright, the reason why this is being repeated is so that your ears can catch the melodies. So that by the time you get to the exposition, you will not be lost. And then that's why you usually have formal types in music. That's why you have forms. Because usually when you are listening to this music and then or rather, have you ever heard people say, oh, this national music is boring. I'm boring. I'm sure everybody said, including me. But the reason is because we do not understand the form. If we have enough glimpse of the form, if we understand what is happening in music, we find it very interesting. Because oftentimes we'll be expecting a particular composer to handle, let's say, the first theme in a particular way or second theme in a particular way, and then the guy just gives you something else, which will spark up interest. So if you understand what is really happening in this music, I'm very sure that you won't find them boring. But when you don't understand what is happening, of course, what you don't know will be boring to you. All right. So let's listen to. The first one is like jumping, skipping, or something like that. And then the second one is having so how can we differentiate between both things? How can we differentiate between both things? Let me play it. So that's the first thing. Very slow. It will be slow. But what we have there is, a skimpy figure. Like, or how can we describe that melody? What word can we best use to describe that melody? Is it a conjunct or disjunct? The recapitulation, like I said, is a restatement of this, but the difference is that in the recapitulation, of course, the first thing comes, and then you have the transition. But then the transition this time is not modulated. Alright? It just goes like that, same key to the second thing. And that's why you have the keys there like that, straight. And then closing thing. And then the recapitulation is also not repeated. and then you then move into the coda. You know, the coda is just telling us that the music is ending or the music has ended. Very simple. Anybody can write it. You know, things like pam 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 pam. You know those pam 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 pam. You know, things like that. Very simple. Just to tell you that the music has ended. This like that. So this is a standard representation of Sonata Allegro that you find in a symphony, you find in a string quartet, and you find in a concerto. This is standard. But that is not to say that there are no deviations or alterations. But you know, music is an art, and then different composers can decide to compose their music. Which, for example, of course, the standard number of movements that we have in a symphony are four movements. You have fast, slow, minuet or scherzo, and then fast. That's four. But then there are 5 movement symphonies. There are even 2 movement symphonies. You know, so that's just exceptions from the rule. So let's listen to any questions so far. Any questions so far? You have a question? Sir? Yes. I don't know what an outro is. Me, I don't sincerely. I don't know what an outro is. Maybe you teach us. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I don't know what an outro is. Okay. Because of the nature of our studies, there's a need for us to use standard language. You understand? Well, the reason why I say I don't, it's not like I've not heard what an outro is. But as far as Western classical music is concerned, you know, I've not heard anything like outro. We have heard outro is maybe in bands where we play, or in pop music and all of those things. That's really, it's an outro, you know. So for me, maybe it's also an assignment for me to find out really, you know,
So the outro is part of the musical term? Because we have no.
That's what I'm just saying. That is not part of it. It's not part of it. But then we have been hearing these things by hearsay, you know. But I don't think I've come across outro although I understand what your question is. But I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that there's need for us to use proper language. You know. The coda is a coda. You know, the idea of outro is what I would call pidgin language or vernacular. You understand? Unless if maybe some of you too, when you become musicologists, you now establish these things. You know. But then in the music of Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, all of those people, there's nothing like an outro.
But what is the difference between the fermata and the coda?
Fermata.
Yes, sir.
They are different. Who knows the difference? Fermata and coda. Who knows? Nobody. Who knows what fermata is?
Sonata is when you stay longer.
When it stays.
When you stay longer on a note, like slow. When you
No, that's not the word. And they can't, you usually won't have fermata at the end of your music. Or do you want to pause till there was one day that one student was playing, maybe a recital or something. And then the student was having a rest. And then the rest was so long, and then we asked that is he resting in peace? You know, fermata is just a pause within the music, within the body of music. But coda is the end of the music.
The national anthem, the Nigerian national anthem.
Okay.
We have ta ta ta. What is that?
That's retarded.
Is it the same with coda? Because a coda
No.
end makes the end of the music. Shows the end of the right?
Coda is the end of the music, like what this man called outro, Abi. Coda is the end. You don't, okay, don't worry. When we listen to music, you understand. Don't worry, you understand. In the national anthem, we don't have a coda. There's no coda in the national anthem. Coda is, like I said, optional. Whether it's there or not, you know, the music still stands. But coda usually it just tells us that the music has ended. A coda can even stand alone, with or without the music.
Thanks for watching.